There's now some disturbing reports about how Israel and the United States might be much closer to attacking Iran by the spring, in fact. Well, Ehud Barak, a former defense minister for Israel, was at Davos. He sat down, I believe, with Daily Beast on Friday and told them what they're planning.
What we basically say is that if worst come to worst, there should be a readiness and capability to launch a surgical operation that will delay them by significant time frame and probably convince them that it won't work because the world is determined to block them.
So saying that they are ready to act, he said that Israel would not act alone and would not need to act alone. I actually talked to the Consul General of Israel here in Los Angeles on our current television show just yesterday, and he said that action might have to be taken by the spring. Spring is not that far from now. Now, when they asked Ehud Barak about how wide-scale this operation might be, he thought it wouldn't have to be. Here's what he said.
The orders from the White House, I believe, the Pentagon prepared quite sophisticated, fine, extremely fine scalpels.
That sounds even more dangerous. Why? Extremely fine scalpels means that they think they can do limited bombing of Iran and get out without consequences. If there are no consequences, well, that would be amazing. But the reality is, if you start doing these so-called surgical strikes all over Iran, you're going to have war on your hands. Are we really ready for another war in the Middle East? Another one that we start? I think it's absolute crazy talk. Now, according to the New York Times, here are our options on what we can do. Cyber attacks. Okay, look, we understand that according to the reporting, one of our cyber attacks knocked off a year of their preparations, and that program has set them back a year. If that's the case, hey, and we don't want them making nuclear weapons, I don't want them making nuclear weapons, that is much, much better than a war, okay? Now, of course, if they did it to us, we'd cry bloody murder, but okay, cyber attacks is one thing. Number two, covert means of interrupting the supply of uranium to Iran's enrichment plants. Now, remember, they say that they're just doing it for energy purposes, and they have the right to do that, and we're going to block that anyway because we're worried that they might one day turn it into a nuclear weapon program, which they don't have yet. But okay, at least it's not war. And then, of course, the other option is crippling the plants themselves. Well, that would be war. And then the biggest target is a deep underground plant called Fordo near Qum. And how would we get there? Well, we have a new weapon called a massive ordnance penetrator. By the way, does that sound like a scalpel to you? It's a massive ordnance penetrator. That sounds like the least scalpel thing I've ever heard in my life. We drop a bunch of those all throughout Iran, and gee, I wonder if we'll have started a war. But you know what? The last war in the Middle East turned out so well for us. Why not blunder into another one? Of course, this is all framed in terms of if Iran would just do 100% of what we want, well, then we wouldn't have a problem, would we? Okay, but that's not justification for starting a war because a country didn't do everything you wanted them to do. By the way, they say nuclear weapons in the Middle East would be disastrous. That's totally true. That's why I'm sure Israel right now is in the middle of getting rid of their nuclear weapons, right? Oh, right. Israel already has nuclear weapons. They like that tactical, diplomatic, and political advantage, and they have no intention of getting rid of their weapons. I believe the conventional definition of that action is hypocrisy. But I'm crazy for saying that.